Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. I'm Basil.
I'm Baz.
And we are recording Saturday, December 14th, 2024. We know we're coming at you guys late this week. Hopefully we get this out tonight. Maybe people on drive time who work on Saturdays and maybe Saturday night are able to watch this. But coming at you late, just a busy week and everything like that. You know, no excuse, whatever.
The game's late tomorrow, 2:30, so you got plenty of time in the morning to look at when you're looking around for stuff to try and figure out how to watch the game.
Yeah, we know Steve will be listening in the morning. We know Uncle Mike will be listening. Mike Roman will get on here at some point too. So at least we got some pretty devout listeners in those three and maybe some more. I know Ben listens too, so got some good listeners out there.
JJ.
Of course, yeah, JJ. JJ's mom. JJ always shout out. And then my mom, of course. So that's the best one. So as always, before we jump into it, we're going to give a plug to the Philadelphia Eagles fan club of Colorado Springs. Probably not going to be at Rhinos this week for us, but the club will be there. So please do go if you find us before you find the club. That's the page on Facebook. And they will be at Rhinos Sports and Spirits tomorrow for the game. Please go and join, and hope to see you guys there in the future. All right. Big game this weekend, Dad. I know every game is the biggest game of the season, yada, yada. It wasn't last week against the Panthers, but before that, it felt like the Ravens game was. And then before that was the Washington game. And, there's always a biggest game of the season. And now this one is kind of the biggest game of the season, it feels like.
This is the one they've been marking on the calendar. So it's possible last week there was a little bit of slippage because they were looking forward to this game. This is the one. This is the measuring stick, if you will. Interstate, that kind of thing. Yeah. But, I just think this is the one that they were looking forward to.
Yeah. Obviously, talking about the Steelers here, the Eagles are going to be playing the Steelers in Philly tomorrow at 2:25 p.m., 4:25 for those back home in Philly. Dad, you got a weather report for the game?
That's going to be another night game. Yeah, the temperature is going to be 41 degrees at kickoff, probably around 40, 39. It's only going to stay high 41, low 37. Little bit of winds. It's going to rain tomorrow night, but not during the game. Hopefully it holds off, but there's definitely looking for some rain showers.
Yeah.
Sunday night into Monday. So, yeah, it's typical Philly December, November weather. Cloudy, gray skies, cold, wet. Yeah.
I'd love to avoid rain as much as we can, but I guess last year we had some of our best games in the rain, it feels like. But
true.
Yeah, it'd be nice to avoid the rain. Eagles that lead the all-time series against the Steelers 49-29-3, so 3 ties. And in the last 25 years, only have met 8 times. So I know they usually – remember we used to talk about it. We used to be like, oh, yeah, we play every 4 years. And now that's changed. It's different, I guess, because we play with the extra game.
Yeah, it is. It is odd that certain teams you don't play. The Jets, we played like 7 times.
Yeah, for 12 times, something like that. Texans,
it's really weird how it works. But
Texans, I think, is like a 7 times too, very very low.
Yeah, it's just odd.
Much, but they're a newer team, so that makes sense.
But it is weird how like you say. Of course, it also matters where you end up in your division,
of course,
through the years.
Every season, yeah.
If you're good and they're good, you're going to meet a little more often. But, yeah, now that you say the extra game.
Well, this year, I know we play their whole division, of course, but a couple of years ago when we last played them, of course, in 2022, we didn't play their whole division. We only played them, I think. So I think they must have been that extra team, or they were the matched team on
right,
the
yeah, they came in second in the division, and you did, as well. Yeah, it's really odd. And then you got to go back to, like, saying at one point there was 5 teams in the NFC East. So you'd have 8 games against interleague.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then you'd only have those extra games against maybe a division or 2. So, yeah it's weird, like you say, how it works and just how it shakes down. But I can't believe we have them by 20. That's crazy.
No, 49-29-3. And they have 6 Super Bowls.
I know.
We have 5 championships. So
it is odd.
Sorry, 4 championships. Yes. So we have 4 championships. So who knows? Maybe, we kind of dominated them early in the 40s and 50s when we were really good, and they weren't very good. And then they kind of came at the right time when the Super Bowl became a thing. So obviously, you got any favorite memories, or we can talk about the last matchup? You got any favorite matchups?
The last matchup I remember fondly because that's when AJ had 3 touchdowns. Correct. And kind of got a personal foul for taunting one of the DBs because he pointed to the 3 of them that were trying to cover him. But, I remember a few games. I remember the big one when Wentz first came up and we beat them when we were not good and they were good, and we smacked them like 35-3 or something.
It's funny because that was absolutely the game I was going to mention. So 2016, one of the first times I played fantasy football, and that was, of course, Wentz's rookie year. So we didn't know if we were going to be very good. Yeah. But I remember in fantasy football, I had Ben Roethlisberger, and then I had Carson Wentz on my bench, and I also had the Steelers defense and the Eagles defense. Now I know that's stupid. You would never want to have two defenses, but I was new to it, of course. But it's just kind of funny to think I had both of them. I had Wentz and brought Ben, and then I had the Steelers defense, and then our defense, and they were playing each other week 3, and I was like, I don't know, I don't want to play against my team, but we're going to get killed. So I played Big Ben and I played the Steelers defense, and then we beat them 34-3. Wentz was amazing. Ben threw like 2 or 3 picks. He was sacked like 8 times, something like that. And our defense had, a couple turnovers and probably a fumble. And I couldn't believe that we annihilated. That was the big Darren Sproles touchdown. Yeah, one of the best touchdowns. Yeah, it's great.
The screen, if he gets you called.
Yeah, but that was great, and it's just funny because I remember being like, oh yeah, I hate to put guys against my team, and that's since then I kind of refuse to play guys against the Eagles because I'm like that it's bad juju now. It doesn't work, it just doesn't work. So. Dad, you got a player to watch for the game.
Well, yeah, it's going to be Zach Bond again because, he's been playing amazing. If he can play in this game to a high level, again, it's going to be one of the later games, so there's only a few of them, so a lot of eyes are going to be on him. This guy's going to be an all-pro if he really continues.
Absolutely.
This game is really the barometer, I think, because the next 3 games are 3 after this. But this game is in prime time, if you will, or whatever.
So it's not
game of the week time slot.
It's the Fox game of the week. It's being called by Tony Romo, by Tom Brady, and that other dude. I don't know their names.
And they're 2 division leaders. There's not many games this weekend with that tag on it. So I mean, they're going to be a lot of eyes watching. But if he can come close to what he did last week, it'd be incredible.
It also feels like in the history of the Eagles Steelers, and I may be wrong, but at least in my recent history, whenever they were good, we were bad. Whenever we're good, they're bad. So this is really one of the first times it feels like that we're meeting where we're both good. We're like this late in the season, we're both really good teams because obviously in 22 they were down, and then back in 2016 we were not so good even though we beat them. But back in 2004, all these different, you go through all the different seasons. It felt like we weren't that good and they were good, and then we were good and they weren't good. So this kind of feels like the first time in a while that we're matching up as fair equals. I would say, really equal teams.
I mean, it looks like we're still favored and all that, but it's just a lot of eyes on it. It's funny because it's an interstate game, but there's never been a real rivalry there.
I'm sure back in the 40s, 50s there was, but ever since they went to a different conference, I mean, we played each other 8 times in my lifetime. That's insane. You would think it'd be a lot more, but I don't know. Let me just talk real quick. Since we mentioned Zach Bond, I just want to point out his stats right here. 120 total tackles, 71 solo, 49 assists, 3.5 sacks, only 1 interception, but 3 passes deflected. And the stats it's funny how stats don't always tell you the whole story. I mean, he's just been playing unbelievable. He's just been so good. Every single game, he's in on tackles, and like you said, that's the assisted tackle. But
I wonder how many tackles for loss he has on the season. He had 3 last week, and 2 quarterback hits, and a sack. So, I mean, he's probably got 10 or 15 tackles for loss because how many times in the last few games he shot through, and the big one against Henry, against the Ravens. He had that beautiful
tackle for loss,
4-yard tackle for loss.
Also had a sack, half sack against Lamar in that game. It's great. It's huge. It's true. It's very true. Let's get into the matchups of the game. So starting with offense. Number one thing, Steelers defense, they allow the 4th least in rushing yards. So they're really good rushing defense team. They only allow 91 yards a game. Obviously, we're the best rushing team with 190 a game. So they allow 100 yards less per game than we get. You know what I mean?
So something's going to give, right?
So something's got to give. This is a big deal. That's the biggest part of our game, unless we're able to kind of change things around this week. Right. Obviously, we haven't really touched on the drama or anything, which we can get to after that. But
I've heard enough of that.
I know. That's why I didn't want to record all week. But so they have a really good run defense, and that's going to be a big deal. Is trying to get the run offense going. And in the last few weeks we played some okay run defenses. Obviously Carolina was the worst, but before that the Ravens were good, and before that who did we play? Was it Commander?
Rams.
No, Rams. I'm sorry. And the Rams were okay, so it wasn't not astronomically great, but some pretty good run defense teams aside from the Panthers, and we've been able to kind of stick to it. We've been able to still 255 yards against the Rams, and then 100 over 100 against the 100 against the Ravens and stuff.
200 yards rushing for the team last week.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, it's funny we think about it. Well, we should have ran the ball more. Well, we ran for over 200 yards, which is incredible when you think about it.
Unbelievable. It's funny when it doesn't feel like a lot because it's just we're so consistent with it now. We're so used to it.
100 yards a carry to us now is we expect 8 yards per carry. Yeah.
Next thing, Steelers defensive line and linebackers, 35 sacks on the season. It doesn't sound like much. It's 17th in the NFL, so it's very right around the mid. But you still have to mention, T.J. Watt every single time you talk about these guys. Having a great season as always, 9.5 sacks, less than what he's usually getting. But that's probably because the more he's getting double teamed more, he's getting pushed away more, he's getting held more, stuff like that takes away his stats. But still having a great season, still one of the best players in the league. Still in my mind the best defensive player in the league. I know Myles Garrett you'd have a argument with, but he's just unbelievable and he's scary every time you play him.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely a player that you have to make sure. You can never go, he's pulling, so we'll just let him go on this play. No, somebody's got to chip him and every play.
Every play.
And one of the ways I think to establish that is to run right at him. Hopefully we can get a pull in here and be able to push him out of the way because he's incredible.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can slow him down and then wear him down. That's been the thing for us. We wear teams down. So hopefully we can wear him down and continue to run like we've been running and throw it a few times.
The worst part about not just T.J. Watt being on the team, they also have a guy named Alex Highsmith on the other side. Right now, I think on this season, he's got only 4 sacks, but 22 tackles. I think he's been injured a little bit this year. Let me see.
He's a good player.
I can't remember how many games he's played. Only 5 games. So 4 sacks in 5 games, I think. Or no, that's recent games. Hold on, I'm sorry. Yeah, only played in 7 games on the season, so he's been a little bit injured, but he's back and he's still playing well. I had a sack last week, had 2 sacks a couple weeks ago against the Giants. So the worst part is about T.J. Watt is not just facing him, but having to face the guys around him. They also got Cam Hayward, great defensive tackle.
He's a load. That's going to be the hard spot. If we can run in an interior, say early, they have no chance because he is a load. He is amazing player, and he's just getting better. He's old now, right?
He's 35, and he's still playing great. He's got 3 sacks in the last 2 games, and a total of what I think 8 sacks on the season. As a defensive tackle, he's always been one of those guys, a defensive tackle who gets a lot of sacks, but still, this guy's incredible. And then the last thing I got to mention is the Steelers' defensive backs. I know, obviously, the big one being Minkah Fitzpatrick. Right. Not any interceptions for him, but he's still having a great season. Sorry, I got to use my iPad here.
No, he's a great player.
Computer's just slowing
down. He's
been
great for years, too.
Oh, yeah, no, he's been great. Obviously, one of those touchdowns that we had against them in the game last time was against Minkah.
AJ cut right in front of him.
That
took it right out of his hands.
Incredible game. Incredible play. Yeah. That was a great game. I mean, for Eagles fans, of course.
Yes.
But, yeah, that was awesome. And they've also got, of course, Joey Porter Jr. That's the big one out of Penn State that we all know about. That was the one that JJ wanted us to draft. We were kind of going back and forth because I thought we were going to take Nolan Smith. He thought we were going to take Joey Porter, and then we ended up taking Smith, so he owed me a beer.
Nice.
Shout out to the JJ. But, yeah, no, so he's got Joey Porter Jr., and then on the others, they got Cam Sutton and Dante Jackson, other players who are really good. So it's a really good defensive back group. They are going to be missing Deshaun Elliott in there, who's really great safety. But even without him, they still have a very, very good defensive backfield.
Ogunjobi's out, too.
He's defensive end. Yeah, defensive end.
And he's a really good player.
He is. No, absolutely.
They're going to miss him, so hopefully we can, continue to run on those guys.
No, definitely.
Well, we'll see. It's going to be a strange game. I'm hoping they're not going to come out trying to throw it 50 yards a play the first couple plays to make a point.
Yeah.
That's my only worry.
Yeah, definitely.
Continue to stay with what you're winning games with. Yeah.
Let's talk about the defense. So the defensive side of the field, big thing on the Pittsburgh Steelers, pretty solid offensive line. Not a ton of great names that we know there, but we do obviously know Isaac Seumalo, former Eagle. He'll be playing. Other than that, they have a pretty young offensive line. They are going to be missing Nate Herbig, another name we would know, their other guard. But they are missing some guys there, so pretty young. I think they got 2, maybe 3 rookies starting on the offensive line for this game because of Herbig being out. So Yeah, a solid offensive line. They've still played pretty well. They have been sacked 32 times, which still I think it's 21st in the league. So it's low, but it's not bottom 5 or anything like that. So they're still pretty solid offensive line. So we're going to have to see the defensive line tested here. Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt and Josh Sweat are going to really have to. This could be a big game for them. I know this.
Hopefully, we can get Wilson to turn into the sack instead of what happened last week, where we were there. But, Bryce just moved. He was. I don't want to say he's lucky. He just made the right move.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can it'll finally catch up to him, because Russell Wilson, we've been chasing him for 15 years or so. And, hopefully we can get to him this week and really put a beating on him, I'm hoping.
Yeah. The Steelers also run the ball well. They're 9th best in the NFL in rushing yards, so they do a pretty darn good job there, averaging, I think, 132 yards per game. Two-headed rushing attack, pretty darn good, headed by Najee Harris. And then the other guy who I have in my fantasy, actually, I can't play him this week, Jalen Warren, both having pretty solid seasons. Neither one of them jump out. They're not all Pro Bowl guys, but they're both really solid players, and they can they go back and forth, and it's this guy, then it's this guy, and they get you. They do hit you.
Yeah, the thing about Harris is shut him down early. Get him the -1 yard of carry there for a while, and I've seen that happen to him in games, and then he just kind of disappears. He's not kind of the player that don't let him get going, basically.
Yeah. And then the last matchup I have for the defense is the one that we hate the most. Obviously, we're going to be playing Russell Wilson in this game. Russell Wilson, if you listened to us in the off season, we both did a list of our most hated most hated players. I think we did most hated non-Cowboys players, just so that we weren't just listing Cowboys, but we did. I think we both had Russell Wilson on our list.
I'm sure I did.
I really don't like this guy. I hate this guy. 5-0 against the Eagles.
Yes.
In those 5 games, had 19 completions on 31 attempts. It's a 61% completion rate. He gets 238 yards a game, average of 7.7 yards per completion. And then 8 touchdowns and 1 interception in those 5 games against us. So just annihilates us. Surprisingly to see, we've sacked him 13 times in those 5 games. So
that's kind of. I would have guessed half that.
I know. Me too. It's crazy that we get him that much.
We must have got him once in a good game. One game.
Well, in one of the games, I think we had 6 sacks against him.
Yeah.
But other than that, we had 2, 1, 2, then 6, then 2.
Because he was the guy. He's the one that always. It's like he's got eyes in the back of his head.
Yeah, it sucks.
Kind of like Pat Mahomes, where you're barreling down. He doesn't see it, and he makes that one little move, and you're like, oh, man, we almost had him.
Yeah, you're just a smidge to the left.
So hopefully this week he's turning the wrong way. He makes the left turn instead of the right turn.
Yeah. So we really hate this guy. We'd really like to just knock his block a couple times.
I'm surprised.
Can't stand him.
You say he's 5-0 against us.
5-0, 5 games. Once in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, and that's why, Well, see, that's the thing. In that playoff game, that was the one a couple years ago, 14-7, or what was the final, right? 17-7?
16-9.
Something like that. Yeah, it was not. I really wanted to beat him in that game. I thought they were definitely beatable. That's why the Seahawks got rid of them.
That was obviously the game that we'll point out. We don't like to play ifs or what ifs in this podcast. Injuries happen and it sucks, but you got to deal with it. Yeah. And we lost Carson Wentz 7 plays in the game with a concussion, and he was playing one of his best seasons that year. Second best to his should have been MVP year, but he was playing great. And then he got a concussion, knocked out, and we had to bring in Josh McCown. I thought that was really, really bad coaching on Doug Peterson's spot. I thought we should have been playing Nate Sudfeld. I mean, I think anybody gives you a better chance than Josh McCown. I don't like to hate on Josh McCown. I know he was one of the best journeyman quarterbacks, but that's why he was a journeyman.
But to me, that was the thing. Like, why are you not prepared? Why do you have a 30? How old
he was 40 at the time or something like that. And then during the game, he tore his leg, and they were like, oh, yeah, he played on a torn thing. And it's like, well, I didn't want that. I'd rather Nate Sudfeld be out there.
Like, I mean, Nate was on our team for 2 seasons. No,
he'd been on our season.
But I still don't know why he never even played ever.
No, he'd been on our team for 3 seasons by then.
But we had him, and we never even tried it. Like, try him.
I know. 2019 is one of the most frustrating years for us because it ended up so well, and we got in the playoffs. We had to win 4 straight games to go to the playoffs. We did it. We won those 4 straight games. It was great. It was so much fun. And then just to have Wentz get a concussion in the playoffs, and then only lose by 7. It was like, if you played any other quarterback, we could have won. I mean, that's what we talk about back then. Yeah. Colin Kaepernick was the big, he's pushed out of the league. And we were like, I want him. He'd be better than this.
The bad thing is, even then, if you remember, towards the end of that game, we were like inside the 15
and he got sacked on the 4th and 10.
The 15-yard line, inside the 15.
We're going to have to anybody watch the highlights of that just to kind of see. I don't remember everything with that game, but man, that was tough.
That was tough.
Okay, let's get into the injury report, man. We really do not like Russell Wilson, you guys. I'm sorry, I can't stand this dude. I want to break the sack record.
Yeah,
I mean, if we could, I want to hit him so much.
Well, it's one of those games that if we got 8 sacks and we're up by 30, I'm still sending him to the house. I don't care how late it is.
I agree.
And the thing is, Russell had those 2 bad seasons, right, with the Broncos and somebody else. And of course, then we don't get to play him, right?
True, of course.
That really bothered me.
Would have beat us anyways. So, no, I'm just kidding.
Probably. No, he was so bad. What, 2-3 years ago? I forget when it was.
Yeah, he was on
Denver.
He was on Denver for 2 years, and
that first year he was there.
First year was awful. Second year was technically good. If you look at his stats, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad, but it was bad.
He was playing good this year. He's still throwing it up for grabs half the time. And you know what I talk about?
I know, Brett Favre.
The old Brett Favre moon pass. But
how about that? Did you see that? The Mark Gastineau.
I did.
Yeah.
That was for you younger guys. That wasn't sad. To me, it was sad.
Yeah, I know.
He wasn't kidding around.
I know.
You gave away my
legacy.
You gave away my '56 Chevy. You gave away my best thing that I'd ever done in the NFL. And he had a lot of rough years, and things after football and things like that. But I mean, he was for a year or two the greatest defensive end around. I mean, and he had, 22 and a half, 23 sacks?
Yeah, he had a season with 22 sacks.
And if you look at him, he had a few years there where he was real close to that every year.
Oh, yeah, no, he was amazing. He had a season with 11 and a half, a season with 20.
Yeah, but took away my...
Then he had a 19 and a 22 back-to-back.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
It's funny because I don't know when... I guess in that same clip you're talking about, they showed... Or I might have seen the end of that game... The Packer game when he gave up the sack.
Oh,
it was only like a minute left in the game or 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, it is horrible.
He ran right to him and slid down, and you're like,
I had called it. Before this happened. I had said that stat shouldn't count.
It shouldn't. It still shouldn't.
Think it should.
Yeah.
But after that, I was like, it was sad. It was.
Look at us going to bat for Mark Gastineau. He was from Arizona too.
Yeah, no, I see.
Centerville, which is a little city up by where Mary got married.
He went to ASU. He went to Eastern Arizona, then he went to ASU, and then he went to East Central.
So he went to one of those JUCO colleges because of his grades, probably.
Yeah, Eastern Arizona.
Into ASU, and but I just remember him.
It was just a sad thing when you see a record like that. It'd be like if we play in the Giants the end of the season here. And Barkley needs 50 yards. And the first play of the game, they all fall down and let him get 70 yards. You don't want that record. It was awful. Yeah. It was. You got to remember, I'm an old guy. I watched football back, and that's back when Gastineau was what they called the New York Sack Exchange. And it was 4 defensive guys, and we had a couple of them that played for us years later. And, I don't know. It was just one of those things.
I was going to come on this pod, actually, and since we mentioned it, I was going to come on here and I was going to say there's a lot of teams in history that have great names. Legion of Boom, Steel Curtains, great. There's a lot of them. And it's funny because the New York Sack Exchange, I had not heard that name until only 2 years ago.
Okay.
I can't believe I'd never heard this. Right. It is without a doubt, that is the best name in sports history. I hate to take it away. I don't like to give grace to outside teams. I don't really care for the Jets very much. That is the greatest name in NFL history. When you're talking about
defensive nickname.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. That is the best nickname in NFL history.
Leaders. I mean, there were some
great. But the New York Sack Exchange is the best. That is awesome. And no, I agree that it.
And it's funny because
I hate Brett Favre. It's funny, and I hate Michael Strahan. So it just kind of comes together.
We tried many years ago to be the Eagles to be the gangrene defense, but it just never caught on. It never made it.
To get a defensive name or an offensive name either, you have to be good for a few years.
Yes.
And you have to be consistently something.
I agree.
The Legion of Boom was, unfortunately, they were heavy hitters for 4 or 5 years.
One Super Bowl.
Steel Curtain, they went twice and they went against the champion. Steel Curtain, they were great for years. Sack Exchange was great for years. Yeah, we wanted to beat Gangrene, but they didn't win they didn't win a playoff game.
I know.
I hate to say it, sucks.
I don't have to say it. I know it.
You got to win a. You
I was
can't.
there. I lived it. I lived it.
You can't not win a playoff game. But okay,
That's the worst thing too when you get into the playoffs and you are the confident one of the teams.
Yeah.
You're not going, man. We sneaked in. Let's get a win. And every time in those defenses, we were the top dog and lost the first round, and that's the worst kick in the gut I can give you.
yeah.
All right, sorry.
I understand. Let's get into some injuries. So good news for the Eagles. Going into this game fairly with little injuries. Now the big one, Britton Covey, he was a full participant the last few days of practice, but they're still going to sit him out with his neck. So he's trending the right way, but I think they're just kind of like, well, let's just take it easy.
Well, it's funny because
Not funny. It's sad because he had the neck injury, and then that first or second punt yesterday, he got tackled by his neck.
Last week, that really upset me.
It was a bummer.
Johnny Wilson, he didn't participate on Friday. He's been listed questionable with an illness, so he's kind of the only other one who's listed right now as a decision.
Right?
Reed Blankenship, he's listed. He was a full participant for the last 2 days, and they haven't designated him anything. So that's the thing. A lot of these, there's no designation. That doesn't mean he's playing. It's very possible that they go, hey, never mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
No, I do know. I
You
know
never know, but you have to watch the Sunday morning thing. But this is the official.
I think we missed Reed a little bit last week.
Oh, I agree.
I don't know the consistency, the continuity that we're building up with that defense, with the young guys, as I call them all the time. Reed still only played in 24 games or something, if that, so.
And then on the Pittsburgh side, they are looking at 3 guys sitting out. So George Pickens has been listed as out. That's big for their wide receiver core. They have a pretty okay wide receiver core, and he's the leader of it, of course. Yeah. And then Deshaun Elliott, one of their safeties, who's had a pretty good season and he's had a pretty good career, he's out as well. And then, like you mentioned, Larry Ogunjobi, defensive tackle, defensive end type guy. He is also going to be out with a groin injury. Oh, no, 3 very good players. That's why it's kind of like, oh, wow.
I wasn't sure about
the DB. I did some reading this week, and I heard about him, and they're pretty high on him. They say this guy's really, really good.
He's had a really good season.
I don't know the name; it didn't jump off the paper, but I knew the other 2 names.
Well, of course, yes. George Pickens is a big one.
This year he's been huge.
But Deshaun Elliott, 27 years old, drafted in 2018 was he drafted? Oh, wow. Yeah, 2018, 6th-round pick, so he wasn't an early pick or anything like that.
Good for him.
He did kind of, chisel himself a pretty good career.
Kirk Coleman on us.
Yeah, no Pro Bowls, no All-Pros, but a couple of years with a couple, interception consistently, and he's had a pretty darn good season this year. But let's go ahead and talk about it, Dad. I know we don't want to spend too much time on it, but we got to talk about it. We can't just skip over it. Horrible week to be an Eagles fan. In my own opinion, horrible week.
You were more upset than I was upset.
I was furious.
Very upset.
And it's funny because I wasn't furious at AJ or Jalen or even Nick. I wasn't furious because, I wasn't mad at that. I can't believe it hurt that Brandon Graham did that. It did.
I want to get a shirt up here one of these years, and that
it stabbed.
Hurt.
I just bought last week. I wore it on the pod. I just bought a Brandon Graham shirt. It's got his number on the back and his name, and I wanted that for years. I'm like, I got to get that before he retires. I got to have it. I have to have a 55 Brandon Graham. And I'm pissed, dude. I was pissed. And I know he walked back. I know he apologized for him. Yeah. Bigger man. He didn't just, dive into it. No, he took it, and I was wrong. But, dude, we come on this pod, and I mess with my Cowboys friend, and I dog on Micah Parsons because I'm always just like, dude, this idiot goes on his pod and says the dumbest things. And then keep in mind, Micah Parsons has only been in the league 4 years. Yeah. And then my 15-year veteran goes and does this. I was pissed, dude. We try not to cuss, I'm sorry, but I was pissed. Yeah. I can't believe he did that. Yeah. That made me so mad. And it hurt. Yeah. It was like, the thing that hurts the most is when he got hurt this season. It hurt a lot.
That was bad. Yes.
You and me had to record after it, and we were like, I don't know when I record. It hurt. It was. And it was like, you know what? This is going to be a battle cry, and we're going to do it for BG. And, and now he just stabbed it and beat it with a bat. And now it's like, this guy we don't want to hear from him the rest of the season. Yeah. Now it's like, and it just sucks because this shouldn't be, if this is probably going to be his last season, it sucks that it has to leave with this taste in my mouth.
Well,
Pissed.
I know you were upset, and I was upset for just it didn't hit me as badly, and I'm kind of one of those. Let's move on. Let's get past it. And I listened to some of the other pods, and I saw some of the other interviews where they kind of Hurts and AJ kind of glossed it away. So I've seen some of the national guys get into it too, and. Some of them have picked against the Eagles this week because of that, and they say it's, But I'm with you in the fact that with BG, considering what happened last year at the end of the season, and we still know why the team collapsed.
Yeah.
But there was something that it did. A player may not be on the team anymore. But that was not just the wrong timing. And I know we've had 9 straight wins and all that stuff, but that's why this game, in my opinion, feels a little bit.
This is a very important game.
I mean, sure, we can get past it, but this is the one. We win this one, and then we win a division if the Commanders lose, and kind of put it to bed. That's my thing. Let's put it down.
It's just funny because I've been on this pod, of course, and expressed very heavily my thoughts on Jalen Hurts and yada yada, but I just can't believe you would say this and do this because I have no doubt that Hurts and AJ still have a very good connection. I'm not going to this game going, they're going to overfeed him or no, they're not going to throw it to him at all. No, that's not my fear. I think Jalen just needs to get back on track with his passing ability. Right. But I just can't believe that BG did that. And I had no problem with what AJ said in his post-game press conference when he said the passing. He's right.
Yeah.
2 consecutive games less than
surprise.
We had 2 consecutive games less than 120 yards passing. Of course, we need to improve it.
83 yards net.
I didn't think it was an attack at all.
But the one thing that I saw last night, and it came out of the Thursday night game, so that would have been Friday's show. Colin was talking about, and he was saying, the night before, Brock Purdy was feeding Debo intentionally, and it backfired so bad it ruined and ended their season.
It did.
And it probably ended Debo's time in San Francisco. The fans were booing him, even though there weren't that many in the stands, which drew me crazy. But they were booing
in San Francisco, right?
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
It was. It was raining. It was
raining,
bad
course,
weather. You can't be outside in the rain, but it was a cold rain anyway. But they were. It was. They booed. They beat him hard, and when he dropped that one ball, I was surprised because we're the team that boos players, because we get into it. But they booed him, and pretty much it ended their season. And Colin Cowherd brought it up, and I said, "Well, he's the only one talking about it. Everybody else is talking about the Hurts and AJ thing. Are we going to come out and throw the ball to him the first 5 plays? I sure hope not. Yeah. But we'll see what happens.
We'll see." Okay.
Okay.
Reminder.
Put that to bed.
Reminder to all you listening, please like and subscribe and comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Dad, let's talk about some other games this weekend. So starting off with the morning games, Cowboys going to be playing the Panthers.
Interesting game.
Panthers are favored here. I think the Panthers are going to win.
Well, they looked good last week. So, I mean, it's funny how some of these teams that we beat that were not that good suddenly, like the Rams beat the Bills. So now
they're the best team in the world.
We blew the Rams off the field by 20,
What's Chase Daniel got to say about that now?
Yeah, it's funny. Then, of course, Washington, at the same time, we beat them pretty good. They scored in the last play of the game to tighten up the score there. But then they blew out whoever they blew out a few weeks ago. Was it the Bears, I think?
No.
But they scored like 35 points, 42 points, pretty easily, too. So suddenly, when we beat them, they were.
I think that was the Titans, so that was kind of.
Okay, it was.
But I know what you mean.
But you're putting up points. I mean, but the Rams, they just destroyed Buffalo. Anyway, I don't want to get into that, but I just want to say.
I think the Panthers are going to win.
I'm with you on that.
I think here's the thing: the Panthers, the last 5 games, they won 2 of them, and then they lost the Chiefs on a field goal.
Right.
They lost to Tampa Bay on a horrible fumble. That Chuba Hubbard almost never fumbles. So
they scored with 20 seconds or 30 seconds left and couldn't hold them.
But they lost in overtime, and then they lost, and then we'll admit it on here. They lost to us because of a drop pass. If he caught that ball, he would have gotten in there, touchdown. We would have lost the game, absolutely. Yeah. So I think that they're got to win. They're going to win one, and it's going to be this one. I think they're going to beat Dallas, and that'd be amazing.
Dallas probably beaten down, especially after last week's
that was awesome
collapse at the end.
I mean, sorry.
Monday night game,
That was awesome.
It wasn't awful.
That was great. That was beautiful.
To fumble the punt into the hands of one of the return or one of the
just to block a punt and then fumble.
Yeah.
It was
great.
It was beautiful.
I agree.
I'm so happy. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I see, there's a big meme that's always like, "Oh, you have to be sick to be enjoying the Cowboys' downfall," and then it's got a picture of a person in a hospital bed. It's like me, like Commanders playing the Saints. Saints going to be playing they're going to be playing their backup quarterback because Derek Carr might be out for the I think he's out for the season.
Yeah.
So Commanders kind of looking to possibly get an easy one here. That's where the worrisome comes into play. Is if we have a tough one here next week, we play the Commanders.
Right.
I know we just got to win one more time to clinch the division.
Yes.
So it's not like
but let's win it now.
That's the thing. Win it now. We don't want to have Washington. We don't want to go to Washington playing for the division. Of course, we'd like to have that locked up and everything. But yeah, so Commanders going to be playing the Saints. Seems like it's going to be an easy one. Giants playing the Ravens. I'm kind of just going to gloss over that. Not really This might be a Lamar Jackson MVP rejuvenation game. He's kind of dropped in a lot of the MVP talks because they're 8-5. But if he's playing against the Giants and he gets 12 touchdowns, then maybe he'll jump back up in the rankings.
Offense was pathetic last week.
Tampa Bay. This is a big one. Tampa Bay obviously right now listed in the playoffs. Playing the Chargers. No.
Oh, okay.
They've actually already lost twice to Atlanta. So I know Atlanta, man.
Chargers, man.
What about the Falcons collapse? Okay, let everyone talk about our collapse last year.
Yeah.
How about we talk about the Falcons collapse? Yeah. I did see a YouTube video today. It was the biggest collapses in NFL history. We were the first one they talked about, and then they talked about the Steelers, and then I turned it off. But the 2020 Steelers, they were 11-0, and they finished 12-5, I think.
Wow! Okay.
And then they lost in the playoffs to the Browns, their first ever playoff win in 20 years.
Okay.
So that seems pretty big.
Yeah,
why is that one not mentioned?
That one on the shirt.
Just saying. Bills playing the Lions, big one for us, man.
Wow.
Really need to see the Lions drop 1 or 2. We need to see them drop 2, and we have to win out to have a first seed. But
I don't even really have to see them lose 2.
I just want to see them not play the shiny team that they've played because they have been amazing, and I just want to see them hit a bump in the road.
Agreed. And then
they're going to lose 2 for us to get
I mean, in the end,
it's going to be hard.
It would just be nice.
But this one would be big.
The thing for me would be really nice if we went into Week 18, and maybe we can't get the first seed. That sucks. But if we at least know by then, because I want to either have the 1 seed by then or don't at all. You know what I mean? Because if you have the 1 seed, you can you can play your players. But if you don't have the 1 seed, well, then I'd like to rest the starters because then we don't have a bye. So I'd like to use that as the bye. Yeah. And for people who say don't rest your starters, you're 100% wrong. Last year we came on here and said, oh, they need to play against the Giants last game of the season. No, they do not because AJ tore his leg. And then
3 plays.
Exactly. Yeah. Rest your starters. That is an official thing. You absolutely have to rest your starters. You cannot.
We had debated that for years.
Yeah, you have to.
You rest last year. No more.
You rest your starters. You do not play them in the last. If it's a meaningless game, you do not play them. Packers at Seahawks is the night game. That's going to be kind of fun.
I agree.
This one's a big deal because I think the Seahawks, they're leading the division right now. But depending on what happens, the Rams, they still have to play the Rams.
Yeah.
And the Rams might take over that seed. And it stinks because the worst thing was we really didn't want the Rams to get in the playoffs, and we really didn't want the Buccaneers to get in the playoffs, and they probably both will.
Yeah.
And it sucks. Now, in the end, of course, they would be the 3rd and 4th seed, so it's not like we would play them
first week.
Yeah, no. But kind of frustrating. We really did not want these guys in the playoffs at all.
Yeah, it's one way of looking at it. But yeah.
Just saying, I think playing the Rams right now would be the worst thing to happen.
Yeah, they look good, but they didn't look. Yeah,
we need the Commanders to be the 7th seed. I mean, I 100% believe that. We need to play the Commanders in the 7th seed, and we need the 3 seed and the 6th seed to beat each other up. The 4 seed and the 5 seed, or sorry, I don't know the numbers, whatever, to beat each other up, and then we'll get into it next week. But
I've done so many of that through the years, is looking ahead and saying this team and that team. I don't do that anymore. I'm just like, let's just go.
If we played the Rams or the Bucs right now, we would lose. Okay.
If you were going to give me a scenario that I would like to knock Tampa Bay out of the playoffs in round 2.
I 100% believe we
smoke them. That's what I would like to do.
100% think we would lose to them. 100%. Yeah. I don't think we'd have a chance to beat them. It's just for some reason we would lose. They would kill us. I really think so.
We're a different team.
The best thing for me would be to play the Commanders first.
3 times?
Commanders, yes. It's like the Giants in the Super Bowl year when we went and lost.
Right.
We played the Giants 3 times.
Right.
and we beat them all 3 times. I'd like to I want to play the Commanders 3 times, so rookie quarterback in the playoffs, and then after that, I'd like to play the Vikings. That's how I want it.
Steelers played good at home too. Like it's been shaky a little bit here.
Yeah. Monday night is the Bears and Vikings. Speaking of the Vikings, so that's going to be a big game.
What, 11-2, right?
Yeah, the same record as us.
That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, they're hoping for the Lions to lose too, so they can jump to the 1 seed. But yeah, Bears and Vikings. It's going to be in Minnesota, so big game for the Vikings to keep their lead and try to get up and match the Lions. And then other Monday night game, the Falcons and Raiders. So Falcons probably have a win there, but
Monday night games.
Yeah,
why would you have the Falcons Raiders on?
I don't know.
Swap that. Well, I guess you can't swap them.
Can't. I know. It stinks. It's bad.
Yeah, that's going to be. I know which one I'll be watching.
Well, what I'm frustrated the most in is that we're the 225 game, of course, and then the Lions-Bills is the 225 game. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you make both the 2 biggest games of the weekend? Why would you make that?
And you could easily have moved that Philly game to 11 o'clock.
Yes.
Because
not
same time zones, people, 1 o'clock game. Pittsburgh people are coming out because they travel.
Yeah.
Why
would you not do that? I just don't understand. Then you'd be able to watch the Eagles, Steelers, the Lions, Bills, and then the Packers, Seahawks. It'd be the perfect day of football, but they ruined it. There's no good morning games. There's no good morning games. It's frustrating. Okay. You got anything else to say, my friend?
No.
All right, let's say our goodbyes. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. If you like our Eagles Therapy podcast, do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you're listening to your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Comment down below your predictions for the for the game this weekend and what you feel about the A.J. Brown, Devont, and the Jalen Hurts thing, maybe.
Drama.
Hopefully we just get on past that with a win.
Yes.
But other than that, from all of us here at our Eagles Therapy podcast, I'm Basil.
I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.